Hello and welcome to the Remus Digital Media Podcast. My name is RJ Barnhart. I am the production supervisor and video engineer here at Remus Digital Media. This evening I am joined by...
Hi, I'm Hogan. I'm the fabrication specialist and head engineer of Remus Digital Media.
Hi, I'm Jared Ball, and I'm a production assistant and a grunt labor personnel.
I'm Cam Osterholt. I'm the student technical director for Olentangy High School and assistant technical director for Shanahan Middle School.
So first, what shows would you all currently be working on if it were not for the coronavirus?
I'd be doing show choir. We would be at Fairfield right now, which would be so much more fun than sitting in my room doing homework that I forgot to do.
Yeah.
That's fair. We'd be working on A Midsummer Night's Dream, and that's for Olentangy High School, and the Shanahan Middle School show.
Nice. So let's go back all the way to the beginning. How did you get into theater, and how did you get the role or position that you were?
Oh boy. I know my first thing was my brother was in it. I don't know how he got into it. That's not a question for me, but he got me to do crew, and then I met Huey, which is Hogan's older brother, and it
Huey is
led to
amazing.
me being in lights booth for a undetermined amount of time, basically mocking everyone after we had finished all of our work, which led to me learning how to do everything that I could do in lights.
Yeah. I started out in lights in middle school. My mother forced me to join, and I just thought lights were cool. And then now I'm a student technical director, basically befriending Hogan and kind of just talking to him to the point where he's like, I'm kind of sick of lights. What else can I do? And Hogan's like, hey, you could join me as a student technical director.
So
What
that
do you
really
think?
came about because I am leaving that program. And so I needed to train somebody to be a replacement. But
Yeah.
I basically got into the whole theater world by just trying it. Back when I was in 6th grade, there was a Grease production, and I was like, hey, let's see if this is something I like. And we got into it and kept working my way up the ladder, and now I am the head student technical director at Olentangy, and branched out into a handful of other different companies and done a lot.
We all made it in here, and then none of us thought it would be a good idea to leave, and now we're going to many places. Was that the best idea? Who knows? But it's the one we had.
Yeah.
So back in 8th grade, a bunch of my friends were in theater and I wasn't, and they were like, hey, you should join theater. And so Nick, I think he's going to join us next week, but I'm not sure. And he was on sound, and he said, hey, most of the sound crew's seniors, you should join theater and be sound. I was like, okay, cool. Because
Is that
I
what
knew
got
I
you
would,
into this?
I think so. I knew I would have a place on sound. So
Because I kept trying to get you to join up for like 4
Nick-
years before that.
Nick and Hogan got me to do it freshman year because I was sort of a tech guy at Shanahan in like 7th and 8th grade. So like if they needed like speakers or sound for like a presentation, they'd be like, hey, go ask RJ if he can do it. And so I started out as a sound tech my freshman year, and then I really just started learning and growing, and then I was sound crew head my sophomore year. And then junior year, Olentangy High School split with the addition of a 4th high school in Olentangy. And so I went over to Berlin High School, where there was a kid interested in sound crew head, so I became lights crew head because I had experience on previous Shanahan shows and just learning over my 2 years. And so I was lights crew head for both of my years at Olentangy Berlin.
Yeah.
So now let's get into, unless anyone has anything else to add.
Oh, I was going to piggyback off Hogan's comment of training people to take over the program.
Take over the world.
So now that we have how you all got into it, what is, there's a lot of stuff said in show choir and theater both that you can't really explain. Do you have any your single favorite overheard out of context phrase.
I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's the best one I can think of right now, and it's definitely "Don't make me fill your throat with thick hot liquid."
Are you gonna give context, or are we just
Do
leaving it at that?
I mean, I can give context to it. It's not as funny with context. Me and Hogan were working on the show choir, this piece of set we had, and it had all these little pieces that had to be hot glued on, but they kept getting knocked off. And he was harassing me while I was working on it. So I threatened to fill his throat with hot glue, but did not say hot glue. I said my thick hot liquid.
I was at a show choir competition, and it was a couple from an unnamed school, and the girl we were talking about something, and I don't know how this was brought up, but she said, "You know what else is small?" and just slowly looked down at her boyfriend, and I felt very bad for that man. But
I mean, that's what girlfriends do in
Absolutely
general.
destroyed.
yeah,
Like,
I think
it
my
doesn't
favorite
matter.
was somebody directly said to me, "What? It's the most innocent thing I'll ever deep throat." And we're just gonna leave it at that with no more context. But that was an interesting conversation.
I did think of another one if you are
Yeah, go
willing.
for it.
At one of our most recent show choir competitions, there was a big ass cart getting pushed through a hallway.
Oh, I remember this one.
I yelled, "Watch out! Don't let it break your kneecaps," because there are all these little like protrusions on it. And this kid lifts up his prosthetic leg, waves it in the air, and goes, "I've only got one more to break." And that was like, you look at him, he says that, like, what do you respond with? Like, you do you or something. I didn't know what to say, and I was like, "Oh, you're missing a leg," and then I walked away.
that's very awkward, more on your part than theirs.
Fantastic. Those are some great moments. How about your favorite show or experience? And then later we will get into some precarious situation and more memorable moments.
One of my favorite moments has to be freshman year, sitting in Lights booth. I just casually, like as a passing comment, said I was hungry, and then out of nowhere, this kid, being Huey, whips out this shoebox, and I was like, "The hell?" I thought maybe it'd have like snacks in it. No, it had a hole in the top, and a piece of plastic there that we use for like gelling, and it was clear. I was like, "What the?" And the shoebox was filled with aluminum foil.
Huh?
And he started putting hot dogs in it, and he turned on a spotlight and flipped it over and put it right into the box, and he cooked hot dogs in the Lights booth with a big old spotlight. And I'm sitting there dumbfounded that he's cooking things with some like light in a shoebox full of tinfoil.
What a great use of a spotlight. We're gonna actually dive more into that in a bit.
Was he doing that with a spotlight? I thought he put a Source 4 and hung it from the ladder.
Yeah.
The source for it that day was not functional. It was one of the source for it that we needed for it was hung up, and we didn't want to take it down. So we just used the spotlight instead.
Yeah, I had one of those moments. I believe it was Myrrh who used to do Olentangy Theater, and she got a DiGiorno's pizza and cooked it with a Source 4. But
those are some good times. Those food always tasted a little weird, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you cook it with a halogen light bulb rather than a convection heating element.
Yeah.
But also, I didn't have to leave the booth, and we cooked food, so I was, happy about that.
Yeah.
Hogan, how about your favorite moment?
That's a tough one. There's a lot of good moments.
It seems like a lot of them have to do with actors being stupid.
Or crew doing things very interestingly.
I think one of my favorites was when we did a black box showing of Three Sisters. And so we had a flat screen TV right behind the curtains where we had all the crews so we could see the stage so that our stage manager could still call it. And our lights crew could still see the stage.
That was Dancing at Lunasa, not Three Sisters.
That was Dancing
so-
in Lunasa.
That was Lunessa.
Yeah, that was Lunasa.
Because
Okay.
I remember I brought the big old TV in, and Smith got whooped by Doyle in college.
Well, yeah, it was that in between shows because we had 2 shows on a Saturday, a matinee and a evening show.
Yeah.
Somebody brought in an Xbox, and we got our 2 directors to play Call of Duty.
Like they did when they were in college together, and then the victory
It was entertaining.
was glorious.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned Three Sisters, that reminds me of our parents showing for that show where we had someone sitting in a couch and the actor must have got in it weird and one of the legs fell off the stage, leaving him kind of wobbling.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely
That's it.
I remember
scary.
that. That was
when
entertaining.
we almost dropped an actor and a couch onto a bunch of musicians and instruments.
Oh, that was over the pit?
That was over
Yeah.
the pit.
Oh, shoot.
Mr. Smith had
Because,
to yell
it was poor
hold.
placement of the couch because nobody could see the spike mark because it was too dark.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then
that's
at
an
the same time,
unfortunate.
he pushed it a little bit when he sat down.
Yeah.
It really be like that sometimes, though.
I remember I had to edit that out of the recording.
Oh, really? That's...
Yeah, because that was the day I came and filmed.
Oh, yeah.
That's sad. You should have left it in and just left it as a blooper at the end.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think
Oh well.
the actor would appreciate that.
That's a great transition to our next piece, though. What is the most precarious situation you've been in your time as a tech kid?
Ooh, there's a lot. I think probably we were reweighting a batten, and we had taken some lights off after a show for a strike. I don't remember what show it was. I don't know. I was doing some rigging, and I was working on a different batten, and I was, reweighting it and going about my way. And then all of a sudden, I hear someone go, "Oh shit!" And I just casually look over to them going up, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And what it was is the batten was much lighter than the weight, and the weight was not where it should have been, and he went up.
How
And-
far did he get up?
Not very far because I dove towards that part of the arbor because he was only a couple battens down from me, and
Yeah.
slammed the lock into place before he could really get any momentum. So that was crisis averted, but it still was not a fun time to watch somebody very slowly levitate on a rope.
That's
like,
the
I
kind
didn't-
of oh shit moment every rigger has. You have
Yeah.
a slightly out of weight batten moving slightly too fast, and you go flying just a little bit. That you're a bit scared, and you go oh shit, but then everything's fine.
Yeah.
But
I think the
if
most
he hadn't said
precarious
anything,
rigging
he
story-
would have just kept going.
I think the most precarious rigging story that I've ever gotten was from one of our directors when he was in college. He was told to
Oh.
load 400 pounds onto an electric that was in. And he was
Yeah.
like, okay, sounds like a lot, but that's what I'm told to do. They really meant 40 pounds. So
Oh.
when he got all that weight on there was nobody else in the entire theater at the time. But he was up there in the loading gallery, and he gets probably about 75% of the way there, and the lock starts slipping because they're only designed to hold 150 pounds of imbalance.
Yeah.
So
They
it
aren't
started
any longer,
slipping, and the whole arbor and
but
back
in the
started
day.
going. And so he just latched onto the rope to try to keep it from going, started yelling for help, and somebody came and helped, but it was probably the most dangerous situation that I've ever heard so far, because
I
people
think-
tend to be pretty safe.
If I'm talking about things that I've heard of, my aunt used to work as a roadie for concerts, and she was working on a raised truss structure that had lights on it and speakers and all, concerty things. I think there was a smoke cannon on it. Doesn't really matter. And she's up there working, and she comes down and she sees somebody going up, and her thought was, I don't think I've ever seen that person go up there before, but that's not my place to tell them that they're doing something wrong. Then she's going along, and she's working on something else on the ground floor, setting up amps, I believe. And she hears a heads, like really loud and piercing and full of panic. And so she like dives towards the like covering for the stage because it's got metal on it. It's like a steel covering. And all of a sudden, one of the gigantic strips of like LED lights there, I think there were like 7 or 8 on it, just fell out of the sky. And I think it was 50 feet, 60 feet. I don't know the exact height, and it just slams into the ground with so much force. There were just little bits of LED like lights everywhere. She ended up actually having to go to the like medical tent because she had pieces of LED in her.
Yeah. I had one of
Yeah.
those moments.
People don't realize it, but when you have anything hanging, the debris field is like the height at which the object is hanging at from multiplied by the mass of the object. If I'm remembering correctly, probably not, but it's significantly larger than people think.
And regardless of what you think it is, the splash zone will always be bigger than you think it is.
That's the debris field.
That's what I'm saying. Like regardless of what you know, even if you calculate it out, it's going to be bigger than you think it is every time.
Yeah. Speaking of those LED lights, I have a situation where my lights crew head was up changing a lights bulb, and he was not the wisest in
He
choosing
didn't wear
his.
gloves.
He didn't wear gloves,
He's dumb.
and yeah, and he reached for a light bulb and just happened to pick the worst one, and it exploded in his hand with glass shards stuck in his hand. And this was during a build at Olentangy. I don't think any of the staff were still in the building. Luckily, the nurse was leaving like right as that happened, so I was able to catch her before she left. But
I have a question about that whole
yeah,
thing. 'Cause we talked about it earlier.
Mhm.
So he touched the light bulb. He
Yeah.
plugged it in. He put the light bulb into the socket.
No, it was a broken light bulb. I don't know how.
He was trying to pull it out.
Yeah.
Oh, so he
lamp-
grabbed it and he squeezed
The
and it
fixture was
exploded.
unplugged. He was trying to
Right.
unhook it.
Okay, I was picturing him with an empty fixture. And he put the light bulb in it, and it just like when he plugged it in, it just erupted.
No. But
That would be far more scary.
It was still scary because he was stuck up there with a hand, and I had to find out what the heck was going on, and no one really understood what I meant when David has glass in his hand. But
Well, it wasn't really helpful because you said that he was running to the bathroom to wash his hand and you needed to get first aid supplies and then ran out of the room and didn't say anything else.
I
So-
said I said a light bulb exploded.
You said a light bulb exploded, David is bleeding, and then ran out of the room.
Yeah.
Nobody could find either of you because both of you left your phones up in the booth with both sets of keys into the booth, with the booth locked, and you just didn't you didn't handle your end very well, so nobody could find you.
My main concern was finding the nurse, and that's what I was looking for. But
Why were you looking for the nurse on the opposite side of the building?
I wanted to tell Mr. Smith so he knew what was going on.
But all
then
you
I went to
said
go
was
find the
a
nurse.
light bulb broke, David's bleeding, and ran away. You didn't say you were going to the nurse. You didn't say he was going to the nurse. You just said David is
To
bleeding.
be fair,
Ran.
David said, "Cam, go find the nurse," and that was my number one priority. I don't remember. It was a stressful situation, but
That's a great safety piece. If something
Yeah.
happens, make sure your director or supervisor knows,
yeah,
and make sure that someone knows where you are going if you are hurt.
they know where David was. Actually,
we
no, they
didn't.
didn't. I said he told me he was going to the bathroom, but he ended up not going to the bathroom. I don't remember where he went.
He went to the nurse's office.
No,
Well,
he
that's
didn't.
probably-
I ran to the nurse's office.
Well, by the time we found you guys, he was at the nurse's office.
Yeah, because I found the nurse and basically called him and told him to come. But that was last year. Yeah, that was for 3. No, that's 42nd Street. But Hogan, do you have any other precarious situations?
I know I do, but none are coming to mind at the moment.
All right, I guess we'll move on. When you guys started theater, what were some shocks, like culture shocks or things you didn't expect to have to deal with?
So I started my experience as a sound tech. And me being a little freshman, I had no idea what was in store for me. I thought I knew I would be dealing with microphones and the soundboard, but I thought I would be doing like more soundboard stuff. And so my very first show, that was Hamlet. And we've got all these girls in dresses and all these guys with like 3 layers of dress shirts. And so that was a very interesting show to be working on backstage, having to mic people and just getting mic pack placement and learning microphone placement and dealing with the best way to secure a mic pack and mic to someone's costume that might not necessarily be ideal for the situation.
Bra strap.
Exactly, yeah.
I think one of funniest moments I had with that is we were doing quick changes for the first time during a show. It was live, and we're doing it as best we can. It's a lot of freshmen on the crew. I was new. It was my first show, first semester, freshman year. It was bad. Anyways, I walked out on a stage because I was with props for that show, and there was a girl quick changing, and I had never seen that before, so I didn't know bodysuits and whatnot, and I like kind of panicked and ran back into the other room and was like kind of flustered. And one of the kids asked me like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Oh, there was a girl quick changing, I think." And I will never forget the look on his face as that creep ran over, yoinked open the door, and goes, "Where?" And very clearly it could be heard out on the stage, and someone told me that later.
Yeah, I definitely was a little concerned by my first experience with that. So I
It's
wrote
always
that.
hilarious because once you're in this for long enough, the way we've come to do it, because we don't have dedicated spaces, it's kind of just a free for all, and so most people just change in the green room because we don't have dedicated changing rooms or dressing rooms.
And we don't have
So-
enough like time to get to those anyways.
Yeah,
do
so
quick
people
changes.
just wind up a free for all. Everybody's in the green room because it's big enough for that. And so you get like the freshmen that are new to it and like hide in the corner and change really quickly or go all the way to the bathroom to change, which we try to avoid, but still happens. And then you get the seniors that just absolutely couldn't care any less and just change in the middle of the doorway, in the middle of the room. It just does not matter.
I know
And
at
that's
this
an
point,
interesting thing with show choir as well, because show choir, everyone runs off stage. They have 50 seconds, 30 seconds to have a completely different outfit on. And they're not always the easiest things to put on and change. And so that's an interesting experience to see for the first time.
Yeah.
I know when I first started show choir as the itty bitty freshman, like hadn't really had a whole lot of like relationships and whatnot. So like I hadn't seen a girl like undressed like that in bodysuit, which is skin colored. And so like the first time I saw it, I like turned around and was all embarrassed and flustered and like covered my face kind of thing. And I'm at the point that I am now that like the girls might get like butthurt about the guys being in crew while they're quick changing or trying to help them get their quick change going better because sometimes they're slow. And at
And
this
then
point, like,
we've got stuff to do, so like we're rushing by already, and we're already we've
like,
got
come
stuff
on.
to do.
I
I'm
don't
not
care
gonna
that you're
wait
at a-
for you to change to go do this very important task.
Or
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry that you are upset that there is a man here in the changing room in like the wing while you're effectively in a bathing suit. Put on your dress. We have to go. You've got 12 seconds left to get on stage. Come on.
Though I have noticed this with theater and show choir that everyone, whenever they're quick changing or whenever they're stressed for that time to make the quick change, their entire demeanor and personality changes to like get out of my way.
Aggressively had a dress hit me and it cut me. I will
Oh.
always hate those friggin' fish scales. Hogan
had
knows
to-
what I mean.
I had to quick change. Elvis Presley. That was fun. It was very stressful because an Elvis costume has a lot of different parts to it.
Little sparklies and tassels and stuff.
Sideburns.
Oh my god. Did you have like the Groucho glasses too?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
He had an American it looked like a presidential seal belt. It was
That's beautiful.
a beautiful costume, yeah.
But
The costume the costumes for this year's keynote show were very good. But we'll save that for the next episode.
that's fair. But like I definitely know that like during any time that stress is high, the way that people act and react to situations is a good bit different. So like during a show, if I say something, then they know who I am, which most of them know that I am crew of some sort. What I say goes during show. It doesn't matter like what it is, but if I give something, I'm not saying it for fun. I'm not saying it like, hey, think about doing this. It's I'm giving you a task. You better do it. You don't have an option. And
My favorite
usually
thing
they will listen to
is
me.
the time that we had a performer come up to us and take the mic from us that we were supposed to hand to somebody and say, I'll make sure it gets there on time, and then set it on the floor where none of us knew where it was, and then proceed to not be able to get it on stage on time because they had no idea what they were doing. And so we had a soloist that didn't have a mic because of another performer that just had their own.
I don't think that mic got on
Yeah.
stage for probably a third of the shows, or it's that mic.
That wasn't entirely our fault though, because they kept changing where the person was, so we didn't know where to put the mic up, and they only had like a half
It always
second to
went
grab
up
it.
on center.
Yeah.
No, it didn't, because at one of the shows they were on
They
stage
did
right.
change it for one show, and then they changed it back without telling us.
Yup.
And that all fell on me, so I was kind of like, this is my first time doing this. What is going on? That's a pretty big shock. But
I mean, that's you in general though. So.
yeah. Yeah.
Totally just. Uh-oh, my thing is not doing what it's supposed to do. Okay. I think that
I'm in the middle of a large data sync, so my network connection is starting to get bogged down. That might cause issues for my audio quality. I apologize in advance for that.
Yeah, we're doing this remotely if you couldn't tell, because the coronavirus is preventing that from being in person.
I do know
COVID-19
conversation is not anywhere near the next point, but we're going to move on towards it anyways, because that's what we do. We ignore what's wrong and we keep going, and we'll deal with it later.
Says a lot about crew.
I love 49 megabyte files taking 48 minutes to download.
Moving into the next one, I think my favorite is the quote of, everything's a smoke machine if you use it wrong enough. And the second the magic smoke leaves the box, it doesn't function anymore.
Yeah.
That second one came from me, I think.
That came from RJ. I do know that the only time that something should be making
I know
smoke
I use the magic
is a
smoke
smoke
one
machine.
a lot.
That's fair.
But I didn't come up with it. I got it from my friends in the ham radio world.
That is a great intro to our next piece. What is some of like the worst operation of equipment that you've seen? So someone using something that is never supposed to be a smoke machine and it ends up as a smoke machine.
Well, I have seen a smoke machine make smoke that it wasn't supposed to make, so that was fun.
That's ironic.
They were trying to make the smoke machine work, and they put the wrong kind of liquid in it, and I don't know the like mechanicals inside of that, but the whatever they used to make it work, it shot smoke out the smoke hole and it shot smoke out the vent hole. So it was effectively a two-ended smoke machine that was getting very, very hot and almost caught on fire until we turned it off and stuck it outside so it could,
Smoke
deal with
machines are just a
that.
hassle in general.
Yeah. I like dry
Our
ice.
smoke
Bam.
machine is a sieve.
Hogan, would you like to talk about piddles? May I introduce Piddles the fog machine at Olentangy High School?
The cooling element has failed in the low-lying fog machine, so the only thing that's causing it to cool now is if you fill the ice chamber with
Dry ice.
ice and dry ice as well.
Didn't we use dry ice
So
and salt water?
normally we fill. Normally we also fill it with ice, but the problem with that is since the cooling elements failed, it doesn't stay cool enough and it just melts, and the ice chamber isn't watertight. So it just leaks right out the bottom,
Oh.
all over the floor. It's
We ended up didn't we end up devising a box that was basically a plastic tote with a cover on it that we cut a hole in so the water dripped into the bucket?
no, it was actually the road case that we built out of plywood for it had edges on it so that the top part would set into it. And so I built a trash bag liner out of 55-gallon trash bags to be able to capture all the water and not have it leak.
Yeah, I hope I don't have to deal with that in the future.
Good luck. Piddles is a monster.
Yeah. But as the youngest in this group, I have to take over most of the programs next year.
I mean,
Which
once we
is-
lose the three of us, you're losing almost all of the crew for show choir expertise, most of lights, most of sound, and any
we'll have
of
sound
the
covered for theater, but
that's fair. But like collectively, once we're all gone, you won't be able to have the solution of I don't know what to do here. Go ask Hogan.
yeah. I think I already talked to RJ about this of having basically an on-call tech man if he's still in Columbus. But next year we don't have a stage manager lined up for theater. We don't have another ASM lined up.
That's
Hogan.
another great, not necessarily great, but another interesting part of especially show choir and theater in an educational institution where the cast and crew is always changing and everyone is continually moving forward.
I
And
think
so, what are some of the crewing issues that we face and have faced in the past as we have lost our group of seniors and they've been replaced by new freshmen?
I know next year is going to suck for a lot of people, but particularly our sophomore year was a pretty good year when we had a lot of people that knew what was going on as seniors. Our juniors were but like the underclassmen are really starting to pick up a lot of slack, getting a lot of hours, and like I know personally I am a 4-star thespian, so 400 plus hours. Not exactly sure how many exactly I have. Or 40 hours, my bad.
Yeah, we're currently in a similar situation now. It's just we don't have a lot of sophomores or underclassmen stepping up. Like, we need more people to step up, but we just don't got that yet.
But anyway, back to what I was saying. When we took over as juniors and we lost like our really good seniors, the first show was kind of rough for us at first because we were used to there being a person and I'd go like, go ask this person, or like they know what they're doing, they will give me my instructions, or something of those lines. And it led to some very interesting moments of, uh-oh, that person's not here anymore. That responsibility is now mine. I need
That's
to
another
work
great
on it.
point. So, how did you take the reins and step up into a leadership position when it was your time to fill the shoes?
It was a little rough at first. I definitely, I'm not gonna lie. I had some help with some of the juniors because they were still pretty good for lights. That was good for me. So there was a little bit that I surrendered there, but there wasn't much of a crew head that year per se. It was kind of just a conglomerate. That was the way that we decided to do it because Lights is a much smaller crew than some of the other ones. So there was about 5 of us, 6 of us, something like that. So we could be like, you're good at this. You work, let's say, the lights board. You make cues and do this. I'm good at dealing with like redoing lights. So I would work on electrics. I would hang lights. I would deal with reweighting, gelling, replacing light bulbs, re-angling, focusing, shuttering, and I would do a lot of the stuff like that. So we just kind of broke the job into pieces and handed it off to people who knew what they were doing in which regard.
Yeah, that's how it works in professional world. But the benefit of educational, like RJ said, is just you get your education, you get your leadership position when no one else is there.
It's when you think about it, it's a great system because the show isn't, you're not locked at the same 10, 20, 30 people for as long as the run is for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. Every single year you have a new group of students that joins you, and you really get to watch the evolution and change of this group of people and program as you progress through your time, and you watch as it changes throughout that time.
Yeah, I feel bad for our directors though to constantly have to deal with finding new people, training new people, dealing with losses.
I
That
think for
can be
them,
an issue sometimes when you have a tech crew or a number of individuals that have such a knowledge and repertoire, and they've grown to understand the space and community unlike anyone else has. And you really need to find someone to step up and learn from them so that you're not at a loss the next year after they have continued on from the program.
I also think for directors, every once in a while, you will get a couple of students, maybe 1, 2, or maybe you have a group that is extraordinarily talented in a specific section, and you end up with a crew that is very self-sufficient. We can get a lot done, or we can troubleshoot if something goes wrong instead of just knowing enough to do a job. Like RJ and Hogan specifically, they're better at lights and sound than I'd say 90% of the people that I've ever talked to from theater or even the professional world. It is what it is. And when they're gone, yes, someone learned how to do the job from them, but they won't ever be as good as those people. It's just some people are built different, and it leads to some heartbreaking moments for directors when they no longer have, the uh-oh, something broke, go find one of these people, they can fix it.
Yeah, I was about to make I was about to reference the fact that this year's circle was going to be really sad, like losing a lot of our crew members, and then I just remember that we're not going to have that full circle.
Dude, if they don't have circle, they're gonna have it during the summer. It will happen. Smith will demand that it happens.
For
If
show
any,
choir, probably. I don't know about theater.
you
So for
guys might
those
end up doing
listeners
like
out
Skype.
there that don't know what circle is, in the theater troupe that we're all a part of, at the end of a show, after we strike the set and everything is torn down, put away, and cleaned up, we all sit in one big circle. I know, like a happy family, but we all sit in one big circle and mourn the loss of our show. But mourn the end of our show, not the loss. It's an experience. But we all sit in a circle, and the seniors then get to say something, talk about their experience, and all sorts of things like that. Some people get really heartfelt and emotional, others kind of more like a joke. But
I
we
think-
all talk about our experience and
I think
sing
people
kumbaya and then call
I
it
think most
call it a
people
wrap.
when they're either crying or laughing or whatnot, the ones that treat it like a joke, It's more of they don't know how to feel, so they treat it like a
Yeah.
joke to kind of cover the fact that they don't want to sit there in a group of people and just like cry their eyes out. But I'm pretty sure Sturkle is standard for most theaters.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's standard for most, if not all, theaters at every level,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just a way to reminisce everything you've done and to maybe pass along some inside jokes that we have, whatever they may be, so that the next generation has those little moments, those little nuggets of like personality that connect them all. These jokes that they were shared from their different experiences, no matter what they're doing, or even like just the seniors making jokes to make the other seniors laugh so that they're not as sad during the circle time.
Yeah. It definitely showcases all the different personalities of theater too. Like you get the actors who are normally the sadder ones. You get to see their full like self come out because they spend their entire program, well, their entire show being their character, and this is a time to be themselves and be around their friends and just, yeah, again, reminisce. I really value it.
It's an interesting time too, because then there are the people that are like, yeah, I did theater, I wouldn't do it again, and then they just like move on with their quotes, and it's kind of just a disappointing time to see the seniors that just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Now that we've talked about some of the crewing issues, let's introduce another member of crew, Lucy.
Hi, I'm Lucy Webb, and I am an ASM for the Olentangy Theater.
Wonderful. What is your favorite part about your crew or your stage management team?
Stage management is like really small, and I do enjoy that fact. But a different aspect, I spend a lot of time with the props crew, and I enjoy kind of watching people dance backstage. It sounds really strange, but like if it's a play or a show, usually there's someone dancing backstage, and it's my something I look forward to every show.
Of course, that's a great part of the theater community. The actors are on stage singing, and the crew's just backstage jamming silently
We have to be silent because the
and
judges
looking at
get
their
mad
friends
at us.
all the way on the other side of the stage, just dancing along.
I danced during the keynote show and like wave at Lucy with Jason, and she never notices us.
No, I've never noticed you before.
Entirely different tangent. Entirely. When we're out on stage holding the tables for keynotes, we'll get into that in the next episode. There was a guy, I always forget his name and I feel bad every time. It's Mason. That's what it is. His name's Mason.
Oh,
yeah.
makes
And
sense.
when I'm holding the table, because I'm a little bit stage fright, I like being in the dark or up in lights booth. I look out at the audience and I'm smiling, and then I look over at Mason, and we just developed the thing that the entire time we like lock eyes while he's dancing, and we just like one of us winks, and then the other one winks, and
How
we both have to
cute.
try not to laugh.
How cute.
It was hilarious. His girlfriend thought it was funny too.
Yes,
She
I
noticed
know.
me winking at her boyfriend on stage.
That must
she's
have
on
led
the
for
other
a-
table.
Kendall would find that funny.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
But let's continue with crewing. Well, our favorite part of the crew.
Yeah, Cam, what is your favorite part about your crew?
Well, as a student technical director, I don't really have a crew, but we
Or
do
crew
have
in the past.
Hogan.
You have all
in
of
the
crew.
past. Well, we do have all of crew, but like
except for makeup, I guess.
specifically student technical director stuff, I enjoy like whenever I'm with Hogan and telling people about our role. Hogan, without any failure, he will always. Thank you.
Wait.
I apologize for that. John's yelling in the background. He just got his butt kicked in a video game. Welcome to my brother, who's sitting on the other side of the room. Say hi.
Fuck off.
Cool, we're gonna cut that all out.
I love it.
All right, I'll
Whoa,
restart
whoa, whoa! We're allowed to
might
have.
add-
No, wait. We
I
can't
might
have
add it just right
Come
at the end.
that. Flashback to my dad and he goes, "Hello." Anyway.
Were you recording? I'm so sorry.
We've been recording the entire time, Sean. No, I didn't. I said everything's in the recording. Yes.
everyone.
Sean's just stupid. Lucy finds it funny, so
It is funny. This is hilarious.
Okay, well, I'll cut in after RJ says, "Hey Cam, what's your favorite part of the crew?"
RJ's not talking.
Hi,
RJ,
no, I am.
Sean asked if you found it funny.
I thought it was entertaining, but like a bit off topic. But
Slightly.
oh well. It's a background clip. I can drop it anywhere in the video I want. We're multi-tracking.
Yes,
We're good.
please make that a background clip, and we could just use it for the rest of the episode. Just, fuck me.
Oh, we need to make a
That's the
sound
intro music.
That would definitely change the rating.
Yeah.
We have
We
Lucy
found-
now.
we
So the
found
rating
it.
is from
We found a
TV
name
to
for
R.
our podcast.
In the wing.
Did we?
in the
We've
in the
got a
wings
couple
side
ideas.
of Tourette's.
Yikes.
No, you.
Oh yeah.
I really want to
Oh,
get a recording
you.
of Sean making Tourette's noises, and then that make,
Calling.
and then we can play it as a sound check.
Stop calling me
Well,
that.
when you go, woohoo! It's Mari. Ignore the banter happening. I can mute myself if you want me to.
No, let's just pick up after RJ said, "Hey Cam, what's your favorite part of the crew?"
So Cam, you can talk about Hogan as STD, or you can talk about
Yeah,
like your past
lights.
show experience.
Okay.
Cool. Here we go. Cam, we're gonna start with you. What is your favorite?
With
What
him.
has been your favorite part of working on your crew?
Right now I'm a student technical director, which means I don't really have a crew per se, except for Hogan. Which one of my favorite moments with that is whenever me and Hogan are together and we're talking about like our role as student technical director. Without fail, every time Hogan always says, yeah, I'm crew head though." He has to say he's in charge of me, and I find that funny, and I completely accept it. But
Dude, we
It's
walk
just
up to you, hand you
weird work.
cables, and then walk away, and you held that cable for like 8 hours. So
Yeah, he did that.
it
I was
wasn't
just like, he was like, "What do I do with this extra one?" I'm like, "Hold on to it just in case we need it." 8 hours later, he's still wearing it around his neck.
because
You
I
can't say
No, he could have put it back in the box.
he knew what
said
box
to
it went
hold
in.
it. You said to hold it, and
You didn't need to hold it for 8 hours, and you could have put it away when we came off stage.
I could have, but also we had another show, so I mean,
That's such
We had
he embraces
3 more shows, actually.
another thing I enjoy. This is from years and years ago, back when I did middle school theater.
roles.
Yeah, Lucy remembers this. I thoroughly enjoyed the high school banter, and I'm looking forward. I was looking forward to that this year, but our
Yeah.
show's probably gonna get canceled.
It already got canceled.
Okay. Well, the high schoolers would always just constantly make fun of the middle schoolers and just constantly mess around, which is another moment we'll bring up later about DiGiorno's pizza. But I
Pizza,
just
pizza.
enjoy the craziness that goes on with the middle school shows.
Cringe. It's all cringe. That's all it is. It's all of us just laughing about cringes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say a good portion of it is cringing about the dumb stuff we've done and then laughing about it later because in the moment it sucked, but then later it was better. Kind of like
Well, so
when
for
you
middle
were
school show,
mad.
no, that's not the case because the entire show sucks.
Well, that's because you're dealing with a bunch of middle schoolers that have no idea what they're doing and won't listen
No,
to you.
the writing is what sucks.
Oh, well, there is that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
On a different point, I still think one of the funniest things that I didn't think about earlier was we were working on the stage and someone was in a scissor lift about 30 feet in the air trying to put a screw into a wall to attach a 2x4 so they could hang something off of it. I believe a curtain. Doesn't matter what they were doing. He dropped a 3-inch screw from 30 feet in the air and didn't say anything. It just happened. And then all of a sudden, I felt a sharp pain through my whole skull, and I had like a little sprout on top of my head, and it
I
was
remember you
just
telling me
stuck
about this.
upright.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that a? And I'm just there like fiddling with the screw stuck to my head, and everyone around me is like, "Are you okay?" And then I just started incoherently screaming at Kennedy, who was the one that dropped it on me.
Of course.
How deep did it get in your head?
I don't know how deep
Just
it went
the
in my
tip.
head,
Just
but it was but it was just far enough into my head that it was standing upright with no assistance.
oh,
So yeah, that was fun.
That's fascinating. Hogan, do you have any comments on student technical director?
I'd say my favorite part about the job is that there is not any set definition of the job. It's that
You
it's
do everything
whatever is
required.
needed. It's rigging, it's audio, it's special effects, it's lighting, it's fixing shit that people break. It happens
Which
a lot.
happens way too much.
Yes.
One of my most interesting moments on a recent show, Berlin High School did That's the Spirit, and I was the student technical director for that. And so I am on stage because we pulled the curtain up instead of open
Out.
for our opening scene. And so our director is on stage. I am getting ready to hoist the curtain, and I realize that the two lighting fixtures we have on stage as practicals, lights actually in the scene, had not been plugged in yet. So I go to plug those in, and I get a phone call from our assistant stage manager. She says, Abby's headset isn't working. Abby is our calling stage manager, our head stage manager. And
Oh,
so
boy.
I run over to the other side of the stage, reboot the headset system, so I flip it off and back on again, hope that works. And then I
Right,
jump on
prevented.
headset to make sure that that she can hear me and that she can talk. And that's all good. Our director's still talking. I run back over to the other side of the stage, and so I am now ready and in place. The assistant stage manager that's supposed to be on that side of the stage is the murderer, and so he is dressed up in a cloak with a clown mask and
No, don't
some
lie.
funny shoes.
Spoilers.
And it's the very first scene of the show. So he's on stage right now. The curtains open, and we have our construction crew head sitting in for Andrew, our assistant stage manager. And I'm chilling against the fly rail, waiting, because I don't have like a set place I need to be for this show. And so I'm waiting on stage to go where I'm needed. And so Drew, our construction crew head, he says, RJ. And so I go over to him, and they're having issues in the lights booth. The lights board isn't working. It's not communicating with the lights. So I absolutely book it from backstage all the way up to the lights booth. And we, of course, don't have a hallway right next to the theater. So I am running through the green room, the drama classroom, and then through the hallway connecting all of the performing arts rooms, and then up the stairs to the lights booth. And when I get there, our lights crew head is at the board, our props masters at the board, our technical directors at the board, and they're all just around the board looking at the board. So I just say, excuse me, please step back. And so I unplug the Ethernet from the back, plug it back in, and right on the board, I hit exit. And then I reopen it as the primary desk, and on instinct, go to Q1. It gets bright, but there's supposed to be lightning in the scene anyway, so it isn't too, it's not too noticeable. But we've just restarted the board in the middle of the first scene. And so that was a very interesting and hectic chain of events, all in the first 5 minutes of a show.
We need to talk about the third shit at some point.
I do know,
We do.
back to the original talking point before all of this was definitely the favorite crew part of your crew.
Yeah.
Totally, that one went right over me. Wasn't paying attention, didn't catch it. It's all good.
You're good.
I definitely think that in Light's crew, it was definitely better my freshman and sophomore year. Not gonna lie, I didn't really do it junior or senior year, but I know the people that were in it, and after my sophomore year, it would have made me very sad to be in it anyways.
That's
But
fair.
we had just a very strange dynamic. We had a crew head, but he was an interesting man, and sometimes he just wouldn't do things, and we would do the other things that we needed to have done, and it led to some very interesting moments in booth and just kind of us screwing around. And what we did mostly happened during Tech Week because it's kind of hard to make a lights queue that's very like definitive without the show being running with the director having communication and being like, change to this, no, make this brighter, change these lights, these got some weird shadows, fix those, put SWAT here, I don't like the way the lights are looking, I want you to change the gels out, or something of that sort. So we'd get most of our stuff done pretty quick, and then we wouldn't have a whole lot to do. So we would sit in the booth, look out the windows, and make fun of everyone. Literally everyone that came on stage at any we made fun of them. Like it wasn't necessarily malicious, it was just kind of out of boredom.
Let's
But-
say, way to make theater sound like a welcoming place.
Yeah.
That's what we did. There were only like 5 or 6 of us. That's well, when you're stuck in a booth with 6 people for 60 hours with nothing to do, because like most of the jobs for like the regular just like baseline crew that's building stuff for set and whatnot, like most of their jobs have been assigned, so they already have like groups that are working on things and know what they're supposed to be doing. So we were not the nicest people, but you know.
Slightly.
eh. And the food. We always had food and drinks in lights.
That you did.
And everyone knew it. Like during shows, like during like running times, there were 3 coolers in lights booth just full of like, one of them had water, one of them had like lemonade and Gatorade, and the other one had like pop. So much pop. Like I think at one point we had like 300 cans of pop for the weekend.
Jesus fuck.
And then we had like 40 bottles of water, and then like an additional case, and then like a 60 pack of Gatorade. And it was
That reminds me of the classic.
Yeah, it does.
the classic. That's a taste of what we did.
Yeah.
And it was so sad when we got our request to put a mini fridge in, got denied.
Well, obviously.
Why? If I bought
I
the
don't-
mini fridge and I put it in there, what's the
It's
problem?
a issue with the fire marshal. If we brought our own in and put it in, it wouldn't. The school wouldn't have a problem. The fire marshal would.
Well, he wouldn't be up in the lights booth now, would he? And if he was,
He has
it
been.
goes-
Yeah.
So we put it in the cabinet and say it doesn't work. And then when we need it, we plug it in.
That's
don't know.
highly illegal.
Tell
I
that
don't know
to
about
all the-
illegal, but
I mean, tell that to all like the old ladies that work like secretaries, and they all have like space heaters.
That's fair, actually.
They aren't legal, but you know.
I don't know. I figured if
Space heaters, that's a great transition. What are some of your favorite moments where Lights Crew was wild in and they decided to cook things with lights? Pizza rolls, pizzas,
Popcorn,
you name it.
hot dogs. We melted a bunch of gummy bears.
good lord. You guys.
what was the result of the gummy bear melting?
Okay, so we left it there long enough that all the gummy bears like melted and amalgamated into one big like puddle, and then we turned it off and let it cool, and then we peeled it up, and we just had like a shoebox shaped about like 1/8 of an inch thick just sheet of gummy bear. It was just like a big old sheet of like weird colors and vaguely strange tasting gummy bears, because it had a little bit of flavor from like the other stuff we'd cooked in there.
Ew.
Tastes kind of like pizza sauce and hot dogs. Maybe a little buttery from popcorn.
See, you
Gross.
guys use like a cardboard box to cook the stuff. Murr just used tinfoil, I believe.
Yeah, no,
just
you put the
aluminum
tinfoil
foil.
like you can put tinfoil like in something, because otherwise it goes everywhere. You can't just put tinfoil.
I
Lego.
remember. I think it was only tinfoil is what she used, and it didn't work out too well. She kind of just burned the surface of the pizza.
Oh, yeah, see that's why we did it the way we did. We had
Yeah, yours
box-
was effective. Hers was kind of just wanting to do something out of sheer boredom.
I think the quote unquote pizza oven was like 2 or 3 shoeboxes all taped together with tinfoil, and we cut the sides out so you could slide something into it.
Yeah.
That it had like a gel that was like a focus, and it had like an angle, so it didn't go onto the pizza directly. It like went at an angle, into the box, and then it
It's like roasting
bounced
a
it all over.
marshmallow over the coals instead of the fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
didn't
Murr
necessarily
used the entire flame.
But sometimes that's how you gotta cook the marshmallow. You just gotta set it on fire, wait till it turns black. and blow it out.
No,
No.
not good that way, man.
You're wrong. That is the best way to eat a s'more.
It's the most efficient. If you're in a hurry, that's the way to do it. But otherwise, no.
No, I love to have the chart. I like the crunchy.
Disagree, but anyway.
That's nasty.
So we've heard a little bit about Murr and Huey and Kennedy over this time. That's a great segue into our next topic. Who is your most inspirational or influential role model in your time in theater?
Ooh, that's a.
You have
Oh,
to
can I
automatically
start?
say, oh yeah, go Lucy.
Adam Shermer. Adam Shermer was the
course.
first person to welcome me, other than like my really close friends at the time at the theater. I had complimented his necklace, and he wears like the two male symbols, like linked together, as kind of like pride. And I'm just like, oh, that's like really, I really love your necklace. And he's like, you should get like the two females one, and we could match. And then it was like my absolute like favorite moment, just because it made me feel like super welcome automatically.
That's
And I'm like,
adorable.
I found my home.
That's
We should
adorable.
do a Where Are They Now with Adam Shermer with 140,000 followers on
Yeah,
TikTok.
TikTok star.
A Schwunky dog truck.
God, what the heck? I think I'd have to go with probably Huey for what I want to be like, and Murr for what I don't. I said I want like Huey for like the way that I wanted to be able to run my stuff and like have trust in my crew and all that, and like be able to handle all of it. And then Murr is kind of an example of bad ideas embodied, just
Yeah.
collectively.
She almost fell out of the lights booth a few times. That was fun.
I mean, I think almost all of Lights has almost fallen out of the lights
Oh,
booth
yeah,
at one point or
definitely.
another.
No, but it was like consistently every day.
We all sat on the window at least one point or another, and
Yeah.
then like almost fell out the window. But she was a ball of chaos that screamed and ran around and was very stressed at everything and panicked a lot. And it led to some interesting moments, like when she panicked and I didn't give her a baseball. She bit my hand so hard I bled all over the floor. And
As
that
she
was. That was my freshman year, and I had not met her for very long, and that was like one of my like beginning times of knowing Murr, and
I
never
never
wanna be
met
like
her.
that. Be glad.
All I know is that I saw her in the hallways, and I'm like, oh, she's pretty. But that was it.
Choice
Maybe that
comments
was-
I shouldn't make.
Well, again, that was all I saw, and maybe we should keep it at that.
But some role models, I think we all have to agree Mr. Doyle and Mr. Smith are
Well, yeah.
great.
Absolutely,
Mr.
yes.
Doyle wins
Director.
that one.
Yeah, Jared has other opinions.
But we'll keep them at bay. But they're both amazing directors. And
They are.
Jared-
What? I didn't do
I
anything.
thought I was expecting other
Shush,
things.
just
I was
shush. Shush.
fine.
They're both good directors. It just I think my favorite is the fact that they both have their regular versions and then they have their angry versions, which are very different personalities, and it's really funny.
on a serious note, back to role models. As the younger one of the group, I do look up to you four and Nick as well. But
Aw.
as this show choir season comes to an end, it's scary that I have to live up to y'all.
Yeah, it should be.
Thanks, Lucy.
Lucy.
You stayed confident.
I mean, I'm kind of with Lucy on
Me
that
and
one. You're
Jason
gonna have
take
a
it up.
you guys are
take
gonna
it
have a really
over.
rough time next year. It's gonna be
We're gonna have a whole new football recording crew, keynote crew.
I think you'll be fine for football. I really do.
Yeah,
I wish
have
I
some
would be able
people-
to say
have a
that
I have more people than we did this year.
That's true.
I would like to say
I have
that I'd be
7.
able to come back and help you guys with any of that, but I'm gonna be off. I don't know where.
Yeah.
Orders will put me wherever they want me.
That's another point. Are you guys planning to do anything theater related after this year is over?
I would like to say that I could come back and try to help out with like cabaret or the classic again, because I always love working on that. Hanging out with the dads is one of my favorite things. Like the crew dads make stuff happen. I love Terry. Terry is hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine having-
Okay, well, Lucy or Hogan or RJ. I know RJ is going to continue doing theater stuff, but
I'm gonna try my best. I'm not gonna be very far away. I'm just gonna be at Ohio Wesleyan. So like, I can probably do almost anything weekend related. Like if I can, if Mr. Smith like lets me, I want to come for like set builds.
See, I think the hardest part about like doing set builds, yes, he would love to have like those of us who know what we're doing to come back and but the problem with that is then the kids that are stressed because they need to learn the job and haven't yet just surrender control to those
No,
that do,
well, so
and they don't
that's
learn
what
as well.
I would want to
yeah.
like work on because as a upper level high school student, it's one thing to kind of surrender, like to have others surrender their jobs to us, but as like a graduate who will have come in, I would want my job to be mostly a teaching role.
I think
It's
having
a
us come
hard
back in
battle
and
because
teach a
it's
job.
you have to focus on the mix of letting people learn and helping them move on at the end.
Because
So I don't know if
it
he'd
gets
let
to
us
a
come
point,
back for everything.
I definitely say I don't think he would let you come back for theater. Maybe show choir.
I think for
Probably
show choir we could participate as like the way the dads do or the
Yeah.
moms, like
Yeah.
organizing and doing the stuff behind the scenes that the students don't necessarily either have time for or don't have the capacity to do. Like the dads building certain things that they don't want the students to work on because either it might be dangerous working with a lot of tools or just the capacity in which they have to work.
Side note, show choir kids, if you would like to see the finalists from the Olentangy Keynote Classic or Marion Harding Extreme, aka Kinky Boots, that is all over on the Remus Digital Media YouTube channel.
I do know that like for some of the things, like the dads don't get a lot of credit in show choir. Like the kids that aren't crew don't really know about what the dads do. But I know from personal experience, the dads do so much outside of
Yeah.
what we're there for, which makes our job easier. And honestly, I think it's one of the only ways that crew is able to operate the way we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like other schools have like 20 plus crew members. Which
Yeah,
is
I was talking
ridiculous.
to a Marysville kid, a crew member, and
Yeah.
she said that they have 17 crew members and like 5 dads.
We have 6.
I was talking to my
Yep.
mother and she found a school with 26 crew members.
Good lord.
That's just crazy to me. Do you guys remember the school that had all matching clothes for their crew members?
I mean, we
Including
used
matching
to.
flashlight? You used to?
Taze Valley. That was Taze
Everybody
Valley.
matching jumpsuits at one school.
That yeah,
And
I
then,
did see that.
Track suits.
Fairfield, all of the dads have matching polos
It's
Oh,
great.
for their crew.
I feel like I am upset that we didn't end up with matching crew shirts this year. I feel like we're gonna have to do something about that, even if it's like post time
Yeah.
that we end up
Hey,
like
we all
shipping the
got
shirts.
Remus Digital Media shirts.
that's
Well,
true.
no, we
Yes.
didn't.
Okay, no, you know
Did
how
I get the
asked
small?
for.
No, I got the
I
medium.
gave one to Melissa.
Did you give her the small?
I thought I did. I don't remember. Actually, no,
Who's-
never mind. It was
Who's
definitely
Melissa?
I'm not sure that's gonna
Melissa filmed. It was a medium. I gave her a medium.
She
Yep.
took over my position, I think. Yeah,
Yes.
my position.
Oh,
For
yeah, because I took
She
over.
filmed
um,
finals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whose position did I take over on the Tower of Terror?
fit.
Reese's.
Reese, that's right.
Mhm.
The Tower of Terror.
That
I
was
prefer the Dobie throne, but the Tower
Yep.
of Terror is pretty good too.
that's a fun discussion for next week.
I think next year we should put we should double stack the trusses in the sides.
Oh
No.
what?
no.
Why not?
No, because you
no.
won't be there. Actually, that's a great idea. We can make Cam do it because he'll be the only one
Ah.
there to deal with it.
No. I will be there, but I can still
Oh.
make him do it.
No, you can't make me do anything next year.
No, he tells Smith, and Smith makes you do it.
That's fair, but
Guys, make sure to put classic in your calendars for next year.
Yes,
What's
please.
the date?
Yes, please.
We don't know yet.
It'll
So-
be in February or March.
Here's the
No,
plan.
it'll be in February.
Or
Because we're
March.
all seniors and we will all have graduated. If we come back, we can be on cameras the entire day. So we, the RDM team, will be either almost or entirely separate from show choir, so that
Which would be-
all of
which would be
our
nice.
awards and the exhibition shows will have full camera coverage.
As
So that
long
we're
as
not trying
prelims
to-
is actually filmed properly this time, I'm okay with
It
that.
was filmed properly this year, mostly.
No, you listen to it? No.
we
Okay.
need to do more testing before.
Yeah,
Because after
possibly
we
a
had
better
started, we
system.
couldn't do
Don't
any.
Put a mic on me if you're putting me in a bucket.
Like I said, we need to test that entire system before we start the live stream.
Hey, Hogan,
Because once we
shut
start
your
the
mouth.
live stream, we can't check audio or anything back up in the booth.
Agreed.
I definitely, if we can get the whole RDM team there working cameras, I think it'd be fun to see everybody in like
Yeah.
in a year and see like what we've gone through, what we've accomplished. I would be really
I don't think
sad.
that'll be possible
Why's that?
because you're not going to be here.
That's not necessarily true, because I can get leave and whatnot. So for the listeners who have no idea why they're talking about that, I leave in June to go to boot camp for the Marines, and they will put me wherever they damn well please. And so I could end up from Okinawa to like Okinawa, Japan, to Hawaii, to Alaska, to Florida, basically across the globe. Anywhere.
Thank you for joining us for the first episode of the Remus Digital Media Podcast. We have been thrilled that you have joined us for this adventure, and we hope to see you again for the next one. Thank you. Take care. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios, muchachos.